Imagine standing on a line that doesn't exist in nature. No rivers. No mountains. No walls. Just an invisible border. Take one wrong step, and you could be arrested, shot, kidnapped, or disappear forever. Across the world, more than 310 international land borders divide nations. Most are peaceful, but some are among the most dangerous places on Earth. Where political conflict, military tension, terrorism, organized crime, and disputed territory have turned ordinary frontiers into deadly flashpoints. These borders separate not only countries but also families, cultures, and futures. Today, we're exploring the world's most dangerous borders and the stories behind them. The border between North Korea and South Korea is perhaps the most heavily fortified in the world. The Korean War began in 1950 and ended 3 years later, not with a peace treaty, but with an armistice. Technically, the two countries are still at war. Between them lies the Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ. Despite its name, it is one of the most militarized areas on Earth. The zone stretches roughly 250 kilometers and is about 4 kilometers wide. Millions of landmines remain buried beneath the soil. Thousands of soldiers guard both sides around the clock. The village of Panmunjom is one of the few places where officials from both countries meet face to face. Tensions occasionally rise because of missile tests, military exercises, or political disputes. Although tourists can visit certain areas under strict supervision, unauthorized crossings are extremely dangerous and can lead to detention or worse. Ironically, decades of restricted human activity have allowed wildlife to flourish inside the DMZ, turning it into an unintended ecological sanctuary. The border between India and Pakistan has remained one of the world's most volatile since the partition of British India in 1947. The division displaced millions of people and triggered widespread violence. At the heart of the conflict lies Kashmir, a region claimed by both countries. Over the decades, India and Pakistan have fought multiple wars and experienced repeated military confrontations. Both nations possess nuclear weapons, making any escalation a matter of global concern. The line of control in Kashmir is heavily guarded, with frequent patrols and periodic exchanges of fire. In contrast, the Wagah border crossing hosts a famous daily ceremony where soldiers from both nations perform synchronized drills before cheering crowds. It is a rare display of rivalry that remains ceremonial despite deeper political tensions. For civilians living nearby, uncertainty remains part of everyday life. The border between Russia and Ukraine has become one of the world's most dangerous since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. The conflict dramatically reshaped security across Europe. Large areas near the border have seen intense fighting, displacement, and destruction. Millions of civilians have fled their homes, creating one of Europe's largest refugee crises since World War II. Many regions remain contaminated by unexploded ordnance and landmines, making travel hazardous even after combat moves elsewhere. Border infrastructure has been damaged, and access to many areas is restricted due to ongoing security concerns. The conflict has also affected global food supplies, energy markets, and international diplomacy. For people living near the border, daily life has been transformed by uncertainty and danger. Stretching more than 3,000 kilometers, the border between Mexico and the United States is one of the busiest international borders in the world. Every day, hundreds of thousands of people and billions of dollars in goods legally cross through official ports of entry. But away from those crossings, the story changes. Remote deserts, rivers, and rugged terrain have become routes for irregular migration and human smuggling. Extreme heat, dehydration, and dangerous landscapes have claimed thousands of lives over the years. Criminal organizations also operate in some border regions, contributing to violence linked to drug trafficking and organized crime. Governments on both sides continue to debate border security, immigration policy, and humanitarian responsibilities. For many migrants, the journey is driven by conflict, poverty, or the hope of a safer future, but it often comes with enormous risks. The border between Afghanistan and Pakistan, often referred to as the Durand Line, has remained controversial for more than a century. Drawn during British colonial rule in 1893, the border divides ethnic Pashtun communities across both countries. Its mountainous terrain makes monitoring difficult. Over the years, armed groups, smuggling networks, and militant organizations have operated in parts of the region. Border closures, security operations, and occasional clashes have affected trade and local communities. For many families living nearby, crossing the border has historically been part of everyday life, though modern security measures have made movement increasingly complicated. The border surrounding Gaza is among the world's most sensitive and closely monitored. Years of conflict between Israel and Palestinian armed groups have resulted in repeated rounds of violence, significant civilian suffering, and widespread destruction. Border crossings are subject to changing security conditions and restrictions. Periods of escalation have disrupted access to humanitarian assistance, medical care, and essential supplies. The conflict has drawn international attention, with governments and humanitarian organizations calling for efforts to protect civilians and reduce violence. The situation remains complex and continues to evolve. Borders are meant to define nations. But they also shape human lives. Some protect. Some divide. Some become symbols of conflict that last for generations. History reminds us that today's dangerous border can become tomorrow's peaceful crossing. Former enemies have become trading partners. Walls have fallen. Peace agreements have changed lives. Yet millions of people still live along frontiers where uncertainty is part of everyday existence. The world's most dangerous borders are more than lines on a map. They reflect history, politics, identity, and the choices made by leaders and by societies. Understanding these places helps us better understand the challenges our world continues to face. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more fact-based documentaries from Truthscopes. Because every border tells a story, and every story helps us understand our world a little better.